Boris Johnson quits as an MP after an extraordinary day of rewards and resignations. In a stinging statement tonight, he called the investigation into whether he misled Parliament over Partygate a witch hunt, intent on driving him out of the Commons, and accused Rishi Sunak's government of failing the country. It came just hours after the former Prime Minister revealed his outgoing honours list, controversially rewarding the same aides and allies implicated in the Partygate scandal.
What he's now able to do is to carry on saying, pesky MPs got rid of me, now a committee got rid of me, if only they'd held on I would have won the next election for the Tories. It's classic Boris.
Well, one of those allies, Nadine Dorries, also quit today, leaving the government facing 2 by-elections and dealing with a row that could worsen already bitter divisions within the Conservative Party. Anushka and Paul will be here to analyse a dramatic night. Also on the programme, top-secret documents in the bathroom, the shower and even the public ballroom of Donald Trump's Florida home. Staggering detail on the latest criminal charges facing the former president. How China's ambition for higher education is generating a new problem of youth unemployment. One more sleep for Manchester City. Can they achieve the elusive treble in Istanbul? Plus, now she performs at a concert to celebrate the Windrush generation. Beverly Knight tells Sedgell of her own parents' resilience.
This is ITV News at 10 with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. With a scathing attack on those investigating him over Partygate, Boris Johnson tonight sensationally quit as an MP. A day after it emerged, he received a parliamentary report into whether he misled MPs. The former PM accused the Privileges Committee of driving him out. With one extraordinary swipe after another, he labelled the committee a kangaroo court and claimed he was a victim of a witch hunt. It came just hours after what many thought would be the big talking point of the night, Mr Johnson's resignation honours list from his time in Number 10. That included a string of senior officials who were at the centre of the Partygate scandal and left even once loyal aides seething. Absent from the list was Mr Johnson's ally, Nadine Dorries. She's also quit as an MP. 2 resignations which present a new headache for Rishi Sunak and will likely reopen divisions within the Conservative Party.
It is 9 months since Boris Johnson left Downing Street.
This is it, folks. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
And now tonight he's leaving Parliament altogether. His resignation and that of one of his closest allies triggers a crisis for the current Prime Minister, who must now oversee 2 unwanted by-elections. This week, Boris Johnson received a draft report from MPs investigating whether he deliberately misled Parliament about Downing Street parties in lockdown. In an extraordinary 1,000-word statement, the former Prime Minister accused the Privileges Committee of trying to drive him out of Parliament. Their purpose from the beginning has been to find me guilty, regardless of the facts. This is the very definition of a kangaroo court, he said. I am not alone in thinking that there is a witch hunt underway to take revenge for Brexit and ultimately to reverse the 2016 referendum result. He finished by saying, "It is very sad to be leaving Parliament, at least for now, but above all, I am bewildered and appalled that I can be forced out anti-democratically by a committee chaired and managed by Harriet Harman with such egregious bias." That committee has been investigating Boris Johnson for more than a year.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give before this committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
In March, he was questioned by MPs under oath about these pictures of apparent lockdown parties in Downing Street and his statements to Parliament.
I did say, this is complete nonsense. I mean, complete nonsense. I asked the relevant people. They were senior people. They've been working very hard.
One former Johnson aide wasn't surprised he's decided to quit.
And clearly, he's taken the decision partly, I think, because he's able now to avoid a vote of censure in the Commons, which could lead to a by-election, which I suspect he thinks he may well lose. What he's now able to do is to carry on saying, pesky MPs got rid of me, now a committee got rid of me. If only they'd held on, I would have won the next election for the Tories. It's classic Boris.
Earlier today, one of Boris Johnson's most loyal supporters also quit as an MP after she missed out on a place in the House of Lords.
We've had a number of conversations over the last 24 hours, and so yeah, he knows exactly what I'm doing.
Does he understand? Does he approve?
All I'm going to say is that we've had a number of conversations.
Do you think he might stand down if he doesn't get through now?
Again, I literally can't comment on that.
Boris Johnson's resignation honours list did reward several loyal MPs and aides, including his former Home Secretary Priti Patel, former Minister Jacob Rees-Mogg, and his former Private Secretary Martin Reynolds, who invited hundreds of Downing Street staff to a Bring Your Own Booze lockdown party.
It doesn't matter who is in charge. The chaos and the corruption continues, the soap opera continues. The people want to have someone who is going to look after them and look after their interests.
Rishi Sunak returned from Washington today with a speech to reassure Red Wall Tory MPs. But tonight, the man who brought him into the cabinet is trying to bring him down on his way out. Harry Horton, News at 10.
It's been a fast-moving evening with a dramatic conclusion. Joining me here to try and make some sense of it all are Paul and Anushka. Thank you both for coming in. Paul, it's been about 18 months since you first broke the Partygate story. Boris Johnson has quit. Doesn't quite feel like that's the end of the matter, though.
No, and look, I think we've got to pause for a moment just to absorb the enormity of this tonight. Boris Johnson is arguably the most dominant character in British politics of our time. But the question that's repeatedly followed him around throughout his career is whether that character was flawed, more specifically whether he had a bit of an issue with the truth. I think some would argue tonight that that relationship ultimately turned toxic. Indeed, this is the third investigation into Partygate now, which has concluded that, yes, he was dishonest. He did break the rules that he made as Prime Minister during the most serious time in our country's history for the past 100 years or so. The alternative narrative tonight, though, is the one that we've just been hearing in Harry's report there, adopting the kind of rhetoric that we've seen in America about a coup, a witch hunt, a plot to oust Boris Johnson. His argument is the motivation for that is some kind of anti-Brexit sentiment. I'm not sure that stands up to scrutiny when you take a look at the kind of characters involved here. He's previously blamed Dominic Cummings for his downfall, Rishi Sunak for his downfall, both of them big Brexiteers who campaigned alongside him. And I can certainly vouch tonight that many of the sources that came to us when we were investigating Partygate were Brexit backers. There are others, though, within the Conservative Party, a small but hardened group of Conservative MPs who obviously share this conspiracy theory and do believe that Boris Johnson has been unfairly removed. And definitely out in the country, there are much larger numbers of Conservative members who really do think that he's been wronged here, and I suspect will remain loyal and hope to see him return. But look, 3.5 years after he became the most powerful Conservative Premier since Margaret Thatcher, Partygate has ended both his prime ministerial and now his parliamentary career, at least for now, and that is the most extraordinary fall from power we've seen in modern times.
Anushka, it really was a very long and scathing statement, wasn't it? Not just on the Privileges Committee, but Rishi Sunak's government as well. What does it all mean now for the future of the party?
I mean, this statement is absolutely extraordinary, as you say, about the Privileges Committee, about Sue Gray. But really, embedded in this is the psychodrama between Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak. People around Boris Johnson are convinced that Rishi Sunak is responsible for his demise. And you can feel that hatred in this letter. As you say, he really has a go at the government. He talks about the poll lead being even, the poll lead of Labour being even bigger now than it was when he left office. He says the Tories are at risk of losing that massive majority he got in 2019. Now, things were already quite difficult under Boris Johnson, but he's really gone for Rishi Sunak on policy. He says he's not sticking to the things that, made him a conservative in 2019. Things like, cutting tax, a pro-growth agenda. I've just been with Rishi Sunak in America. He said, he's just so passively let the trade deal go. One person in government said it's like he's pulled out the pin in the grenade and he has lobbed it in. Rishi Sunak will no doubt be taking a deep breath tonight. I don't think we're going to hear from him tonight. He will hope that quite a lot of MPs don't support Boris Johnson. That's certainly the case. I'm getting messages from people who just want this psychodrama to get away. Yep. Some who say the Privileges Committee, they're so proud of them. But others say, actually, did this need to happen? And it is very destabilising for Rishi Sunak.
So Boris Johnson, he's quit tonight sensationally. Is that really it for his political career, do we think?
I would say he's hoping not. I mean, the word is here, isn't it? It is very sad to be leaving Parliament, at least for now. Yeah. Boris Johnson wants to stay around, and you heard in Harry's piece the hint of what a lot of people are suggesting might happen tonight, although some in Conservative Party headquarters say they don't think it necessarily will. For some time, we've thought that maybe he wants to move away from Uxbridge because he might lose that seat and move to a safer seat. Well, guess what? One of his biggest supporters, Nadine Dorries, has stepped down in a much safer seat mid-Bedfordshire. I asked Boris Johnson's spokesman tonight, is he going to stand for that seat? He said he would decline to comment.
Goodness me, we'll have to watch this space. So much for a quiet Friday night. Anushka, Paul, thank you very much. Well, it's certainly been an eventful night for our former Prime Minister, and the same can be said for one former US President. In the past few hours, we found out the extraordinary details of the sensitive secrets Donald Trump was allegedly hoarding at his Florida resort. It's claimed classified documents he took from the White House included information on America's nuclear weapons program, that some were stored in a bathroom, and that he even tried to hide boxes from the FBI. Mr. Trump will appear in court next week, and it's clear these are the most serious charges he has faced. How it will affect his bid to win back the presidency is less certain.
This is the astonishing trove of classified information the FBI found when they raided Donald Trump's Florida home. Boxes containing 102 classified documents stored in unsecure locations, including the Mar-a-Lago ballroom and even a bathroom. One photo released tonight shows how documents were found scattered on the floor of a storage room. The charge sheet says some of the boxes were kept in rooms accessible from the Mar-a-Lago pool patio through a door often left open. Among them, 11 top-secret papers, some relating to the military or nuclear capabilities of foreign countries.
Today, an indictment was unsealed, charging Donald J. Trump with felony violations of our national security laws, as well as participating in a conspiracy to obstruct justice. Adherence to the rule of law is a bedrock principle of the Department of Justice, and our nation's commitment to the rule of law sets an example for the world. We have one set of laws in this country, and they apply to everyone.
The details of the indictment reveal Donald Trump faces 37 counts. Charges include the willful retention of national defense information, conspiracy to obstruct justice, withholding or corruptly concealing documents, and making false statements. Some charges carry a 20-year prison sentence. But Donald Trump has already started the fight back.
There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person.
Tonight, Donald Trump's lawyer told ITV News the indictment has already resulted in campaign donations pouring in.
Legally, we will do everything to fight and show proof of what happened. Last night, I understand a ton of money was raised. With every indictment, with every attack, you're not just attacking President Trump. You're attacking the American people. You're attacking our country.
She was speaking at the Bedminster Golf Club where Donald Trump is currently staying. It was here Trump was recorded boasting about still having a classified document on options for attacking Iran, months after leaving the White House. The transcript shows Trump said, "As president, I could have declassified, but now I can't." He then added it was, quote, "secret. This is secret information. Look at this. This was done by the military and given to me." Mr. President! Ironic, given that as president, Donald Trump himself increased the punishment for taking classified documents.
I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law.
Yet Trump presided over hundreds of classified documents being taken from the White House in total contravention of the law.
The records of an administration going out of office come into the legal custody of the Archivist of the United States. That means that the legal custody of those records are with the American people. I'm very proud of my former colleagues for standing up to the former president.
Donald Trump has already appeared in court in New York in a case relating to hush money payments to an adult film star. But this classified documents case is much more serious. When he appears before a judge in Florida, it will be the start of one of the most consequential trials in US history.
Well, let's cross to Dan in Washington now. Dan, there was so much detail released tonight. Where does this case go from here?
Well, this is the indictment and it runs to 49 pages with some really incredible detail in it. These aren't just any documents that Donald Trump took. These were some of the most sensitive secrets that the US government deals with, from agencies like the CIA, the FBI and the National Security Agency. Jack Smith, the special counsel for the Department of Justice, who you heard in my report there today, talked about there being a speedy trial to look into this. Well, when Donald Trump appears in court at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, he'll be appearing before Aileen Cannon, the judge. Who appointed that judge? Donald Trump himself, and she has a track record of making judgments which have apparently, to some critics, favoured the Trump camp, delaying proceedings, and there is a lot of speculation that she will do everything she can to try and kick this into the long grass and delay it further. The big question is whether this trial can get wrapped up before Donald Trump can wrap up the nomination for the Republican Party, and whether this can all be done and dusted before the presidential election next November, in November 2024. It feels like if it can't, this is going to hang over the election and potentially hang over the United States, plunging it into a constitutional and democratic crisis.
All right, Dan, in Washington, thank you. Vladimir Putin today announced that Russian tactical nuclear weapons will be deployed in Belarus next month. President Putin also said what has become increasingly obvious in recent days: Ukraine's counter-offensive is underway. There have been reports of heavy fighting in the south of the country, although unsurprisingly Kyiv and Moscow gave very different accounts of how the crucial battles are progressing.
Armata! On Ukraine's southern and eastern front lines, there is a renewed sense of urgency to break down Russian defences from the land and from above. There are few places to hide in this conflict. Every Russian soldier is a target to be taken from the battlefield. Is this the counter-offensive? Soldiers ITV News has spoken to say it is. Their commander-in-chief won't confirm directly. However, he acknowledges hot battles and thanks soldiers for moving step by step towards success. But success is not theirs alone. Western weaponry is critical to the counter-offensive, so no wonder the Russian leadership so celebrates the apparent destruction of at least one of the German-donated Leopard tanks. Far from the battle, the man who launched this offensive is once again reminding the West that he has friends in useful places. Belarus's president today hosting the Russian leader, and from July playing host to Russian nuclear weapons. On the whole, the situation is stable, says President Putin. I would even say it's good. Everything goes according to plan. But were these scenes part of the plan? In Kherson, rescues are still ongoing after the breach of the Kakhovka Dam. Multiple intelligence reports now suggest an explosion around the time the dam wall gave way. Ukrainian security services claim they intercepted a call between Russian soldiers discussing what happened.
Это наши сделали, это не их, это наши сделали.
Да что, наши? Говорили, что это хохлы долбанули.
Там не долбанули, там это наша диверсионная группа. Они хотели типа этой дамбой пугать. Пошло не по плану.
Both sides will keep blaming each other for the dam collapse, and both sides will keep fighting each other. This counter-offensive will be critical in terms of the future in the short term of this war, but not necessarily in the long term. Tonight, the US has pledged more than $2 billion in aid. Clearly, nobody is expecting peace anytime soon. Emma Murphy, News at 10, Ukraine.
Well, here as we head into the weekend with the first heat health alert of the year in place, people are being urged to take extra care, with many likely to head to beaches to enjoy the sun. Lifeguards expect to be extremely busy, while there's also a warning of thunderstorms.
Many may worship the sun, but it is increasingly coming with a warning.
Hey guys, it's just a quick reminder to put on sunscreen.
This will be the hottest and busiest weekend of the year so far at coastlines around the country, like Brighton. The RNLI are expecting their lifeboats to be called out more than 200 times over the next couple of days.
Our biggest concern at the moment is the temperature of the water. Even though the air temperature is in the mid to high 20s around a lot of the UK and Ireland, the water temperature takes much longer to increase in temperature. Around the UK, water temperatures will be as low as 10 degrees in the sea this time of year, and that can cause something called cold water shock, which can take your breath away and make it incredibly difficult to swim.
We're not expecting the record-breaking temperatures we experienced last summer this weekend, but it will be 5 to 10 degrees warmer in parts of the country than typical June weather. An amber alert is in place in the East and West Midlands, the east of England, south east and south west. A yellow alert covers north east England, the north west, Yorkshire and Humber and London. The alerts are in place until Monday morning.
There you go, Flo, there's yours with the sweetener, all right?
Thank you.
The warnings indicate high temperatures could affect all ages and impact the health service. The elderly are among those most at risk. Climate change is making heat waves in the UK more likely and more extreme, and we're all having to adapt.
The sun is very hot for me right now. That's why I'm using the umbrella, and sometimes I get like headache when it's too hot.
Do you like the fact that our summers seem to be getting warmer, or does it something that worries you?
I think it's definitely concerning because it wasn't this hot when I was a child.
I'm very concerned because the winters are getting colder, the summers are getting hotter.
I'm from India and I'm liking this weather, so it is good for me.
It feels like home?
Yeah, it feels like home, yes.
The warmer weather may be welcomed by some, but keeping safe is increasingly becoming a factor in our summer planning. Amy Lewis, News at 10, Brighton.
Now, millions of young people in China have long hoped to achieve more than their parents. Doing so, though, is becoming harder. More and more are highly educated, but since the pandemic, there are simply not enough jobs that meet their high expectations. The scale of the problem is revealed in China's latest statistics. In 2019, there were 7.6 million graduates. Now it's 11.6 million. And that educational pipeline is getting bigger. 4 years ago, more than 10 million were taking the college entrance exam. Now it's almost 13 million. All that is leading to huge levels of youth unemployment. In the first quarter of 2019, it was 11.3%, and now it's almost doubled to 20.4%. So with competition rising for top jobs, what is President Xi's message to those looking for work? Seek it out in the countryside.
Most job searches are done online these days, but such is the demand and desperation for employment among young people in China, recruitment fairs like this one in Beijing are attracting a crowd. Youth unemployment hit a record high last month. 20% of 16 to 24-year-olds are out of work. It is a statistic which alarms the government because millions of restless and disgruntled young people could cause social or political instability. The pandemic is partly to blame. Graduates have emerged to find a shrunken job market with lower wages and longer hours.
Mainly it's because of the pandemic and too many graduates this year. Furthermore, many places downsized the staff. Some government institutions will cut down by 5%.
Compounding the problem will be 11.5 million new graduates who will join the search this month. Many of them, like Guo Zihan, spent much of the last 3 years in lockdown on their campus, unable to get intern or work experience.
I applied for 2 or 3 jobs in 1 month. It's hard to find. Some have high requirements for technology, not easy to find.
President Xi has told the nation's young people to endure some hardship. And in a statement with echoes of the Cultural Revolution, he encouraged a return to the countryside. This week, 13 million secondary school students are taking part in the annual college entrance exams, 1 million more than last year and the highest since records began. Anxious parents gather outside test sites with good luck charms and wishes for their children. Mrs. Jiang is worried that even a university degree won't be enough.
I can tell he won't find a job, so he definitely needs to get a master's degree. He needs to get ready for this.
This is a generation born under the one-child policy. Children brought up with the pressure to achieve more than their parents.
These pupils have grown up with rising prosperity and prospects. They are expected to go into higher education and become part of the country's growing middle class. The guarantee of a good job and a bright future is the bedrock of the Communist Party's social contract with its people. But at the moment, for millions of young people, that promise is being broken.
They have studied hard, believing they will be the drivers of China's future growth. Suddenly, their expectations are matched with a different reality. Debbie Edward, News at 10, Beijing.
The countdown to Manchester City's moment of truth is nearly over. They've conquered all before them this season, and tomorrow night in Istanbul, Pep Guardiola's side will fight for the final jewel in their crown. The Champions League triumph against Inter Milan would see them match Manchester United's treble of 1999.
Restaurant and bar owners have created a little corner of Manchester in Istanbul's Old Town, even nailing their own colours to the mast, making travelling fans feel very much at home. Some City followers are surprisingly nervous, but all agree the Champions League is a box that needs ticking.
Just want to get it done. Even just win it once, that's all I'm asking. If we win it once, I think everyone here will say we'll be happy, never win it again.
I think the priority is the Premier League, but the Champions League, it stops a lot of the chance, you'll never be European champions, and that'll do it for me.
The first cup's going to be important, and also the treble as well, and it's a stepping stone to maybe a quadruple next year and so on.
So you're not nervous at all?
Absolutely no nerves at all.
City have been near perfect this season, no more so than when they dismantled Real Madrid in the semi-final. On the eve of the match of their lives, the players know they are just one more commanding performance away from sporting immortality.
We are ready. I had the feeling that we are ready. The players will give absolutely everything, knowing and respecting a lot the opponents that we have ahead of us. Could not be otherwise, and yeah, go for it.
Despite a decade of domestic domination, City have never won a Champions League title. This season, in the end, they more or less strolled the Premier League. In last weekend's FA Cup final, they overcame neighbours United, whose treble-winning achievements in '99 they're desperate to emulate. When United were enjoying that golden year, City were languishing in the third tier. It's been some turnaround, thanks largely to huge investment from their Abu Dhabi owners.
It just feels a little bit different now. I think all the hurt of previous years and going at various stages, and to do it for the first time in a treble-winning season is going to be special, and I think that is written in the stars, or hopefully.
Istanbul is a city where 2 continents and 2 cultures collide, fitting then that tomorrow night it is the stage for 2 footballing giants to do the same.
Of course, City's season is not without controversy, namely the 115 charges from the Premier League over financial irregularities and the fact that some believe their success means the competition is becoming too predictable. But those conversations can wait for another day, because the team itself is box office to watch and is on the verge of achieving something very rare and very special. Steve Scott, News at 10, Istanbul.
And finally, when she hit the stage tonight at the Royal Albert Hall for a concert marking the 75th anniversary of Windrush, Beverly Knight said she'd be thinking of her parents. They came to England as part of the Windrush generation, a generation which the singer and actor told us had been treated appallingly by the government. She spoke too of their resilience, a word the 50-year-old also uses about herself.
She's one of the true stalwarts of British pop, and Beverly Knight's new single and album finds her delving into her musical roots of disco, funk and gospel.
I hope people will really go out and enjoy that. It's sassy, it's full of energy.
Tonight she's been performing at a special concert celebrating the 75th anniversary of the arrival of the first Caribbean migrants to the UK, remembering her Jamaican parents who came here as part of the Windrush generation.
How do you think the Home Office and Suella Braverman have treated the Windrush generation?
In a word, appallingly. Appallingly. These people who were British enough to come into the country and repair the country's infrastructure were somehow not British enough to stay and have all the full fruits of full citizenship. We've seen cruelty, in my opinion, meted upon these people with the failure to implement any of the changes that should have been made.
You can't find another me. Her success, she says, is down to her parents' strength and resilience. I'm a soul survivor. Who nurtured her and her career. Now 50, she's seen as one of Britain's greatest soul singers, inspired by the likes of Aretha Franklin, Shaka Khan, and the late, great Tina Turner.
Black Butter, which has that real kind of Tina spirit. It's like my tribute, my love letter to her. Tina really taught me that there is no age limit on excellence.
7 years I've been leading you. We love you, Mrs. Pankhurst. In recent years, she's been forging a formidable parallel career on stage, starring to huge acclaim as Emmeline Pankhurst in Sylvia at the Old Vic, the hip-hop retelling of the Pankhurst family and the fight for women's votes, earning her the prestigious Olivier Award.
To come from the world of music, to cross over and to be welcomed by my peers and then awarded, that was just, yeah, unbelievable for me.
With platinum-selling albums and an armful of accolades, Beverly Knight is still going from strength to strength. Sejal Karia, News at 10.
And what a way to end tonight. A dramatic one, to say the least, from all the team here. Good night. Have a great weekend.